Hello and welcome to Secrets Mystery Manor. I'm your host, Psychic Zelda Kelly. Warning: this podcast may contain sensitive material. It is intended for mature audiences only. Viewer and listening discretion is advised. Hello, and welcome back to Mystery Manor. This is Zelda Kelly, and I have a very sad story tonight that really hits home. I'm going to try to get through it. I'm still very emotional over it. And this is a very tough story. It's someone who I looked up to and that we were close in my high school was murdered. And it was a very sad situation. And looking back on it now, I'm surprised maybe that someone didn't say something or do something before they did. But without further ado, let's get started. In 1973-74, I was in junior high school. And at that time, I was taking music lessons. My whole family was musically inclined, and we sang a lot. My mother, sister, and I sang 3-part harmony, and sometimes my grandmother would even play the piano or the organ to accompany us, and my mother would do the same. And we were singers. I went through all of the covers of Barbra Streisand and Helen Reddy and, let's see, who else was there back then? Olivia Newton-John. Gosh, these are all ancient. But they're good. They're good songs. And I would sing those, and especially Barbra Streisand songs. Give me a Barbra Streisand song and I'll nail it for you. But I felt this void and something was missing. And I had a voice coach that was wonderful back then. He was connected to the Metropolitan Opera. My school system was very blessed to have him. In fact, he actually had my mother in high school. So there you go. And he was so talented. Baritone voice. Oh my goodness. I can still see him today. So anyway, he kind of singled me out in some of the classes for singing. And I had my choice of either going into band or into voice. And I chose voice. My sister chose band. I chose voice. Sometimes band and voice classes would collaborate. That was a lot of fun. And so that was it. But there was one time that my voice coach said, here, you got to come in here. Come on, Zell, you got to come in here with us. And I went in the auditorium because many times we had our voice lessons in there because the acoustics were just so perfect. And there was a young woman standing on the stage, about 17, 18 years old, singing a song in a manner that I had really never heard before. Now remember, I'm from a farming community. In this farming community and in the high school, there were probably 400 students in the whole entire high school. Most of us, I'm going to say 80%, were farm kids. So we did not venture out into the cultures. We tried. Our voice coach, some of the people tried. There were many of us that knew that there was another world outside of the farm, even though I love it. Best years of my life. So there's this one young lady standing on the stage. Now, I'm not going to mention names because the family, I don't want them contacted. I don't want them hurt. And if they listen to this, they'll know who they are. But out of respect for them, I would just prefer not to say what their names are. So I'm just going to call her Miss J or my friend. You'll know who she is, okay? So my voice coach looks at me and says, Zell, you got to listen to this. And on the stage, this young woman, dark, black, long hair, beautiful skin like porcelain, was standing on the stage, and she was singing an Italian opera from the Barber of Seville called Une voce poca fa. And I could not believe my ears. It rang through me and just made me feel whole. It gave me that, it filled that void that I felt in the song. I ran home and I told my mom, I said, Mom, that's what I've got to do. I've got to do. And I just pestered her and wouldn't leave it alone. Well, I was a cheerleader then, and I was active in school sports. And so my mom called the voice coach and said, look, Zell really wants to go into this. She heard Miss J sing, and she's not gotten over it. She wants to make sure that this is something that she can do. So that's what got me started. That's what embarked. And I would go into the auditorium at every chance I could to listen to her. Every commencement, every baccalaureate, this young woman would sing. She was just so musically inclined. And in band, I believe she played the oboe. She was just so talented. So the voice coach basically pulled me aside in school and said, okay, you've got to you've got to dedicate yourself to this program. That means cheerleading has to go. These sports that can hurt your voice when you're yelling and everything else has to go. Now I'm going to tell you, I worked hard to be a cheerleader, and thinking that I would have to leave that go. But I also knew that there were many, many nights at very cold football games losing my voice and having to recover 2 or 3 days later, being sick, having laryngitis. I knew that I could not be my best in this program. So I said I wanted to talk to the Miss J. And she talked to me for a little bit and told me that this would be something that I would use for the rest of my life. And she was right. I mean, hello, I'm certainly not cheerleader now, but I can still sing. And that was very, very true, and it rang very true. So as time went on, I joined this program, and she was in it as well. And it was about this time that there was a brand new band teacher that came from Columbus, Ohio, into our small farm community, got a job there. He had a wife and a young son and one on the way. And he was tough. He was the new band director. My sister was in band, and I remember all she did was march around the yard for 2 summers, practicing routines because he was that tough. I'm going to call him Sarge because that's what they called him. So I'm going to call him Sarge. So Sarge came from Columbus, and he revamped the band uniforms. He revamped all of the songs. Everybody was so happy with him. He was just like the new, innovative person, and he was just this full of personality. But then it started to happen. And for those of us who would be in the band and then combined voice programs, we started to see the looks that he would be giving Miss J. And it would embarrass her. She didn't know what to do. Now, her sister and I were a lot closer. She was a year older than me. And she even said how uncomfortable it made her and Miss J. It was painful. We were disgusted, especially us girls. We were disgusted. Many of us would go home and we'd tell our moms, and our moms would say, well, this is something that we can't get involved in. Now, I want you to know we weren't so backwoods that we didn't know that this was wrong, because we did. This was the mid 1970s, and things like this happened very rarely, and especially not to us in our school district. So now this is happening more and more. And now we see that he is using excuses to keep her after class for a long period of time. And this went on and on. She, I believe, started to fall for him. Now, that was tough for a lot of us, because we knew it was wrong. And many of our mothers would call the school and complain. And I don't know why they didn't do anything about it, but they just didn't. Now, his wife, obviously, you know what they say, the wives and the girlfriends are the last to know. I believe that's very true in this particular case. So, as time went on, we saw this exchange now starting to happen between the two of them. And keep in mind, he was about 10 years older than her. So, she was about 18 then at the time. And in 1975, she graduated. Now, she would come back, and I did not graduate until 1978, but she would come back to the school, and she would sit in on classes and so on and so forth, and she went on to college. Sarge actually quit the program in 1970, I believe it was 7, something like that. And he followed her to where she was going to college. As one thing led on to another, they fell in love. He divorced his wife, and Miss J and Sarge, got married. They moved down to Columbus, Ohio, and by that time, I was now, as the years had gone by, I was now 21. I was still singing as much as I could in the operatic program that I had taken in the high school, and had done some now different things, and was working toward I wanted to try out for the Metropolitan Opera, and the timing wasn't right. It didn't work out, and I got married, and blah, blah, blah. But I got married to a man that was actually in her class. And he was a lieutenant in the Navy when he and I got married. And we got married in Florida. So we're not married now. He was a wonderful man. That's another story. But so as time went on, we started hearing of fights and horrible things happening. And from what I understand, I was not there, but this was the story. He was very jealous of her. She was excelling, working for an accounting firm. She was doing very, very well, and he was working for an airline, a private airline, where they would wax the airplanes. And he would be at the airport and so forth, and he was getting very tired of doing that. The lackluster just kind of went out of the relationship because she started to excel in what she was doing. On October 22nd of 1981, Miss J was in a parking lot of where they lived in downtown Columbus, Ohio, in a very nice apartment complex. And she was strangled to death. Now, there was an attorney who was coming down off the elevator and saw someone dragging her from the car and her lifeless body being dragged into a stairwell. And when this attorney yelled at him, he took off running. Couldn't see who it was. Couldn't see. She was strangled with a wire. So this attorney got scared. Now at this time, remember, we didn't have cell phones. We didn't have that sort of thing. He ran back upstairs to his apartment and called the police. They came, and of course, they pronounced her dead at the scene. So as time went on, it just rocked our community. And my friend, her sister, the whole family was just devastated. They did not like Sarge at all because they felt that how he treated her and how it was wrong to start an affair when Miss J was so young and in high school. So now time is moving on. And there's a lot of police investigations, a lot of everything that's going on. And before we get into that, I want to take a very quick break for our sponsor of Secrets Mystery Manor, and that is Psychic Secrets, for a special message, and we'll be right back. Stay tuned. Hi everyone, this is your friend Zelda Kelly, and I would like to take a minute to invite you to stop over to Psychic Secrets. That's www.psychicsecrets.com. There you can find an advisor that can help you with advice, direction, and guidance that you need. And also you can read our blog, which has a lot of really, really good little articles and information and can actually answer some questions for you. You can find us here on this same site, this Secrets Mystery Manor. We are there. So you're there already if you found us. But we also have another section, which is the Secrets Laws of Attraction. We have some wonderful videos up, and we would love to have you stop by and take a look at that. Now, I want you to know that Secrets really is here for helping the person. We have qualified, experienced advisors on call 24/7. We have the ability to chat. We have the ability to take a call and actually even a video call if you feel so inclined. So stop on by to psychicsecrets.com. That's www.psychicsecrets, that's 2 S's in the middle now, psychicsecrets.com, and take advantage of our first-time offer. For those of you who have never called before, first-time customer, we have an offering of 30 minutes for $30. We can get a lot accomplished in 30 minutes. I'm so glad that you stopped by today to listen to Secrets Mystery Manor. And I hope you take the invitation to come on over and check out our advisors. We're here for you. So thank you so much. And hopefully I'll see you soon, and you'll see me on there. I'm extension 11. So back to our podcast. Bye for now. Thank you for waiting, and thank you for that very special message from PsychicSecrets.com. So continuing with our story, Miss J was killed, strangled. And there was a big investigation, and it rocked our community. And we all knew what happened. He had a temper. We all knew that he did it. And as time went on, because he did not have any, because this attorney couldn't identify him running away in this parking garage, that was it. He was never criminally indicted. So that was very, very hurtful to especially her father. Now her father, that lived in the community, took it upon himself. He made a mission to catch Sarge. He made it his daily activity to interview everyone, go to the apartment complex, go to everywhere, and basically see if he could find this out. Now, at this airplane, at this airport, they were working on this one particular airplane, and this one guy noticed that Sarge had marks around his hands, and I'm going to say that it was from the wire of killing Miss J. And but they did not have enough of probable cause to charge him. So, as luck would hold it, in the early 1980s, like in 1982, they found that there was an insurance policy. And Miss J, I believe it was around $250,000. And back then, whew, that was a lot of money. So, weirdly enough, though, for Sarge, she added her dad on as a beneficiary, as well as Sarge. So Sarge goes to claim the insurance, and her Miss J's dad steps in. Hallelujah. He blocked him at Sarge. He blocked Sarge at every which way but loose. Did everything that he possibly could. Now the insurance company was having difficulty deciding were they going to pay or not, because they were now in this fight for the funds. They took it to court, and it was Sarge against Miss J's dad. Miss J's dad and her family formed a charitable trust and said the court could put the funds in that charitable trust. They weren't going to go for it. They weren't going to spend it, but they did not want him to have it. Well, as I guess things progressed on, they ruled on this case in order for her insurance policy to go to either Sarge, the husband, or her dad. Well, the insurance company said, you know what, we don't want to get into it. We're going to pay it to the court. Then you can battle this out. We have to pay our claim. That's the best way we can do it. So the court agreed to that. So Sarge filed a motion to dismiss it, and they denied the motion for the dismissal. So they pushed and pushed and pushed. So now he is starting to come out with all these stories. He said that at the airport that there was a very big known criminal in Columbus, Ohio, that had been indicted before, and that he was talking about something over a telephone, and Sarge heard him. And that they approached Sarge and said, look, don't you tell anybody, or we're gonna kill your wife. And he blamed this particular, I guess, mobster on the killing of his wife. Did anybody believe that? No. They had no proof of it? No. So he's regurgitating this whole story in front of the appellate court for the insurance. And now, to muddle things, he had a witness come in and say, well, I want you to know that the marks around his hands were due to power tools that he was working on an airplane, and had nothing to do with his wife. So after all of this testimony and everything, it looked like, well, Sarge was going to get the money. And her dad was the family was beside themselves. But the witness that said the marks on Sarge's hands came forward and said that really wasn't true. After all was said and done, it really, really wasn't true. And that he was offered $50,000, a big lump sum of money, from Sarge to testify on his behalf and tell this. Now, wow, that rocked everything. So the wonderful caveat in this whole thing is that in the state of Ohio, you cannot pay a claim, an insurance claim to someone and make them a beneficiary of a crime based on, even though Sarge wasn't criminally indicted for Miss J's murder, the court stepped in and said, we feel that he killed her civilly. And there we go, Shaggy again. Don't we just know it? Shaggy is chiming in. Yes, he's having a good time today. So anyway, he's playing. So that the court said, we can actually find Sarge civilly responsible for murder, so we do not have to pay him because he lied. And not only did he lie on the stand, but he bribed this witness. So this all went to the Supreme Court. This was a big deal. This was nothing. I mean, there was, believe me, this went on and on and on. Now, before all this happened, and I do want to tell you a little part about Miss J's dad. And Miss J's dad was so overwhelmed and hurt because of the family. I can't remember seeing him ever smile again. And I mean, how do we blame him? Knowing that rocked your world. It was horrible. A horrible experience for the whole family to go through. It changed everyone. There was a time that he got so angry because Sarge was not criminally indicted for the murder of Miss J, that he said he didn't care. He got a gun, he put it under his seat, he headed from my hometown, which was about 75 miles north of Columbus. He headed to Columbus, Ohio. And as he got closer, he started thinking about what that would do to his family. Not only would they be hurt for the death of Miss J, but he would be the first one implicated in murdering Sarge. And that was his intention. He was going to make him meet his maker. It was an emotional, horrible time for them. Can you blame him? No. But am I thankful that didn't happen? Absolutely. Because they would have had to go through that whole thing. So he always said, if I was diagnosed with cancer or something life-threatening, I would certainly do that because I have nothing to lose. But you know how it is when you're so filled with emotion. And it was just so very hard for him and the whole family. So while he was going toward this one exit of where his other daughter lived, not my friend, but my other friend, the other daughter, they had 3 girls, he pulled off. By the grace of God, I just think that it was a divine intervention, that he pulled off and decided to go home. So now we're back to this Supreme Court, and they ruled in favor of Miss J's family, wonderfully enough. And they basically said that it was a civil duty of theirs to decide that he would not get these funds. And not only did that happen, but they actually sentenced him to 6 years in prison because he bribed the witness and he lied on the stand. And so that was the only time that he spent. And I guess a little bit of time is better than no time at all. But we all knew, our whole community knew, we all knew. The funds went to this charitable trust for the family, and it's been used to help the family. So as the years have gone on, it was actually Sarge's good fortune that her father, on Monday, August the 14th of 1989, dropped dead of a massive coronary. He had this massive heart attack, and he was only 61. And it hits home because that's the age I am now. And I can imagine going through this. The way that they described him, and I had left town and I had left the area and I hadn't seen them again. But they said that he aged so much he looked 20 years older than what he really did. And as time went on, mother died, the other sister died, and the one that's left is my friend that was a year older than me. So this now sets case precedents in the state of Ohio. When someone wants to use a disaster and a murder to have financial gain, you can't do it. It's against the law. You can't do it. And you can be found civilly responsible for murder. Now, isn't that... I just, actually, in many ways, I think that's wonderful. If they can't do it criminally, let's do it civilly. Now, when Sarge got out of prison, no one ever heard from him again. Nobody knows where he is. No one knows. I don't know if he changed his name. I do know that when you are a felon, and he is a felon because this was a felony that the Supreme Court upheld, that you can't change your name in order to avoid anything like this. It would be very hard for him to do that, legally anyway. So no one really knows where he is. They don't know if he's living or dead. And he now would be he was 35 when all that happened, and he's now probably close to 73, 74-ish, something like that. So thinking that he would get away with that for $250,000, I don't know. That's a very, very sad. All I know is that we lost a lovely young lady in our community that was senseless, and we didn't need to lose her at all. And the family was just plagued with this for the rest of their lives. So to this day, her murder goes unsolved, sadly. But I can't imagine. And that affects me. And every time I hear this aria from The Barber of Seville, Una voce poca fa, I think of her. And I'll play a little bit of that for you at the end here. But very sadly, we miss you. We certainly do. It was very hard for my friend. Before this happened, she got married. And it was a wonderful time. And Miss J sang at her wedding. And I actually read on Facebook just a few days ago in our high school, I guess you can say our high school group page. And I saw where her sister, my friend, wrote, and how she looked so beautiful because she sang. And when you heard her sing, you would never forget it. She was that talented. So the sad part about it was that 4 days after my friend got married, this happened. She was murdered. Ironically enough, the man that I married, the lieutenant, had a crush on her in high school. And I didn't know it which was fine by me because she was beautiful. And I didn't know it until after she was murdered. He became very quiet. And he told me how he had asked her out for the prom, and how she smiled at him and said, "No, I don't think I can." Now, at that time, they were in high school and she was having her little affair with Sarge. Sadly enough, and I always wondered what would have happened if she would have went to the prom with my husband. Could it have saved her? We'll never know. But I want to thank you today for tuning in to Secrets Mystery Manor and for indulging me in this very heart-filled, pardon me, you can tell it gets to me, this very heart-filled story. But I wanted to share it with you because, well, I think it's important to share things like this. But until I see you again, I want to wish you peace, love, all the blessings, and a very brave heart. And to my very sweet friend, supportive. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't be singing. This is for you, my friend. Sleep with the angels and rest in peace. Una voce poca fa qui nel cuore villa, il nel cuore vella, until next time, thanks so much for listening. I just love this, don't you?